to my Lord and be free. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom, freedom. Oh, freedom. Over me, yeah. And before I be enslaved, I'll be
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm Nick Smith. I'm the first deputy public advocate for the city of New York. And again, I'm going to thank you for inviting me to make a few remarks about what Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Means to me, both personally and professionally. To be very clear, we're at a time where there's a bunch of upheaval in our country. I know all of you saw the riots that happened a few days ago in Washington, D.C., with a bunch of folks objecting to the election. And I think one undercurrent that is very present with what happened is there are some people, I believe, in that crowd who are committed to maintaining a system of supremacy for certain Americans, and those are white Americans. To me, that's sort of what Dr. King, just what he was fighting against, and in many ways was successful in doing so, even though there's much more work to do to dismantle systems of white supremacy. So that isn't to say that just because you're white, you are the problem. We're talking about the systems and the need for all of us to work together to dismantle systems of oppression and supremacy that disadvantage Black and brown New Yorkers, particularly, and Americans particularly. And I think Dr. King came along at a time where we were just looking for some leadership in this country that wasn't being found, for example, in the presidency at the White House or other places. And he was a voice of clarity and pushing the national conscience to finally enacting laws and changing systems to better integrate people of color, and particularly Black people, into American society, because it is true that Black people have been here since the founding of society and themselves built many of the institutions that we enjoy today, along with, of course, other Americans. So that's what I think he represented, just a voice of the need for equality for all Americans, including Black Americans. And we can recite a lot of his quotes, and dealing with morality, etc. But what I'm going to talk about just very quickly, what I think he means for young people and students, for example. And one thing I very much know that he did was preparation. He prepared for the mission at hand. And so folks may not be aware of his educational background, but he got his bachelor's from Morehouse University, his theological degree from Crozer Theological Seminary, and then his doctorate at Boston University out in Massachusetts. So I think, he had the grounding, of course, in church with his father, Dr. King Sr., and then he coupled that with his formal academic training, with which he went on to become a pastor himself at Dexter Avenue Baptist Church in Montgomery, and of course, leader of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, etc. So to me, that's the first thing that we should take away from Dr. King, both personally and professionally. Always be prepared for the mission. That is a lesson for all of us, including you all as young people. Secondarily, I think a lesson that we all can take away even today, even in this environment, is always speak truth to power and do not be afraid to do so. Dr. King risked his life for equity for all of us, including Black Americans. No one wants to lose their lives, but the level of courage that it took is courage that we all need to have in our personal and professional lives. And so for me, preparation and courage are two qualities that I think us as young people, particularly younger people like you, being in high school and going on to college, can take away. I think he continues to be a shining example of how, in the midst of the storms, we all can make a big difference. So with that, I thank you again for the invitation. Always be prepared, always speak truth to power, and always do what is right. Thank you all again for the invitation.
We are here right now with someone special for you, Elmont. I have someone that was born and lives right now in Elmont and represents Elmont in the New York State Assembly, which is District 22. Can you just introduce yourself? Tell us your name, the perfect way to say your name, because someone corrected me once.
Yes.
So I'm not going to do that again. I want to introduce Elmont Library to Assemblywoman Solages.
Well, greetings, everyone. Happy Martin Luther King Day. My name is Assemblywoman Mikael Solage, but everyone calls me Mickey in the neighborhood. So if you see me and you yell at Mickey, I'll turn around as well.
Okay.
But I am the Assemblywoman of the 22nd Assembly District, which encompasses Elmont and the surrounding communities. Lifelong resident. I was born and raised here. I still live in the same house that I was born from the hospital street to the house. So,
Wow.
I'm born and bred Elmont, Dutch Broadway graduate, where my son currently goes. And so, to me, Elmont is not only a community, it's a lifeline. It's a world that I know, and I plan not to leave until I'm in the grave.
It's amazing. You're born there and now you're serving. You're really tied in and invested to the best of what Elmont has to offer.
Well, this is actually my 5th term in Assembly. I was just reelected last year, so I literally only probably a couple of days ago I was seated for my 5th term, and it's really exciting because I've hit the ground running. I was elected chair of the Black, Puerto Rican, Hispanic, Asian Caucus, the Legislative Caucus. Yes, very exciting. And so we deal strictly with the policy of what's going on in Albany. And it's really a challenging time, and it's a great time to now be the chair, where we can ensure that communities of color, Black and Brown people, are now represented in state government. I was also appointed by Carl Hastie, the first African-American speaker in the history of New York State, I was appointed as deputy majority leader, which is a
Heard.
very high
Yes,
leadership position.
congratulations,
Thank
congratulations.
you. And this is all from a little girl from Elmont achieving the dream, and using the trailblazers like Martin Luther King Jr. like yourself to be able to really represent our community and state government. Yes, really, it
Thank
takes a
you.
village.
You're
You
the
were there, everyone.
trailblazer.
Yeah. Oh
You're the
no, I
trailblazer
can't do
because
it
you're the
alone.
first person of Haitian descent.
That
Tell us
correct?
the
Yeah,
rest. Right.
I'm the first person of Haitian descent ever elected to the New York State Assembly. Prior to 2012, there has never been a person of Haitian descent elected, and I'm glad to be the first, and I'm glad I'm not the last. There are 5 other individuals of Haitian descent elected, representing all communities that you know of: Brooklyn,
Yes.
Coney Island, Suffolk County, Rockland County, so many different areas. But they all now represent state assembly, and every year we have a wonderful celebration, Haitian Unity Day, which we celebrate the
Yes.
Haitian culture, and we've passed legislation to ensure that Haitian immigrants are protected in our state. So it's really exciting to be the first, and I'm glad I'm not the last.
Congratulations for leading the way. You are the definition of a trailblazer, breaking barriers, if that's what we want to call it. You're doing a lot for a lot of different segments of humanity and shining a light on what you can do. So personally, and from all of us that surround you, we want to say thank you for what you put out there so far. We look forward to you doing a whole lot more.
Yes.
And in the honor of MLK, you had a dream and you're fulfilling it. And I want to ask you, how have you channeled the message of Dr. Martin Luther King into your work or your life, or how do you resonate with it?
Well, Martin Luther King was a visionary, a passionate, goal-oriented man. He believed in freedom for all, and he focused on social justice and liberties, not just for African Americans, but for people of all color. His effort and his vision lives with us today. And so every day I use his strength. He was notably saying that you don't have to be the most eloquent person to be effective in making change. And I use that every day. I'm not an orator. I have to lend that to my brother, legislator Carrie Salage. He can make a great speech. I usually try to talk before him, not after him. But at the end of the day, I have the heart and passion, and that's what Martin Luther King made sure that he effectuated. It's a time that we honor this man who persevered and set a preference for the fight of freedom. The fight is not far from where we came from, because we have Ruby Bridges and we have Michelle Obama, which I love. But really, the only way that we can honor Martin Luther King Jr. is to continue his vision, to carry out his legacy, and really putting your life and body and your soul and your mind on the line for what you believe in. And that's what we have to do as a community. And we have to make sure that we circulate it in our community. So buy local, eat local, shop local, make sure that you patron and support, local business owners, which is so important. I tell people we have to spend our money in our community. And so, he taught us all those nuggets of knowledge. And now we have to make sure that we take the lessons that we learned from that and fulfill it today, especially now, especially today. And it's now trendy that people are saying Black Lives Matter, when we always knew that Black lives have mattered. But we now have to make sure that it seeps in every orifice. People's eyes are opening to see that there's a disparity going on, that if African American does something, or if someone of white America does something, that it's different effects that happen. We know that 49% of young Black males are incarcerated or put in jail before the age of 23. And that's the disparity that we need to tackle.
Tough.
So we have closed prisons, we have changed and enacted criminal justice reform so that people have an opportunity not to be criminalized for poverty. But we have so much more to go,
We do. Wow. I was just saying, you mentioned your brother, Mr. Carrie Salage, Nassau County legislator. He also represents Elmont, Valley Stream, and some other neighborhoods. And like I said, it's inspiring to see a combo like this, that grew up in a household, and this is what that household produced. Yeah. We don't need to know the economic situation. It doesn't matter. Greatness was within you guys, and you pull it out to shine it. And that's amazing that combo is happening.
And like
We do
Martin
want
Luther
to do
King, Reverend Martin Luther King, I give credit to God. Every day my mom goes to church, and I say, because we pray to God, and we not only if you don't believe in God, but you pray to self, and you hold yourself high, you are able to achieve more if you love yourself, and if you take care of yourself. Not only self-care, nails and hair, getting your hair did, but also making sure that you're enriching your mind, educating yourself, reading books, making sure your finances are straight. That's self-care.
Yes, yes, I agree. That was 100% on point. Do you hear that, my teens in Elmont and everywhere else? Uh, and I tell that to my family, my kids, you have to take care of yourself first before you can do anything for anybody else. I tell adults that too, unfortunately, but
Yeah,
take care of yourself first. Make sure you're charged and ready to go to deal with daily life, and you'll make it, right?
exactly.
So I wanted to ask you to close off if you could give our teens around the world a message.
So it's a tall task, because like we said before, a lot is going on in the world. We have the disparity of COVID-19, where Blacks and Latinos are more likely to die from this insidious disease. We have the economic fallout that's happening, where many young people are having their education altered. And we see what's going on with the fight for racial equality. So it might seem that it's a tough time to be living, but it's actually the perfect time, because we need champions, we need heroes. And I know that the prior generation, they've done their task, but it's now us, the young people, to stand up and to make those sacrifices, and to endure, and to set a path for freedom in the part of the seas of social justice. So let's continue to push out that legacy and promote freedom, and be passionate about what we're doing. But we have to do it together. And so I tell you, don't be shy, as Martin Luther King has always said. Don't be anxious about how you speak, or what you do, or how you look. It's all fine. It's all perfect. Right now, we just need passionate people out there fighting and advocating for freedom and for social justice. And what's great is that this generation has such a platform. We have social media, that we can carry out that
Yes.
message so quickly, that we don't have to wait for the textbooks to write our history. We can write it right now ourselves. So you're perfect as you are. Continue the fight, but let's just get louder, and let's take the reins and get it done. Let's now really achieve what we are supposed to achieve as a society: equality for all, regardless of your race, your religion, your creed, your immigration status. This is America. Let's make it like America.
That's heartfelt. That's real right there. Thank you so much, Assembly Member Mikhail Soladas. We're honored to have you with us today. You are representing Elmont well. You are representing Nassau County well. You are representing New York well, women well, Black people, Haitian people well.
You.
You're hitting all the marks for us, and we appreciate you being our representative. We hope you and your family have a great MLK Day.
Yes.
And a great 2021. 2020 was sideways for all of us in some kind of aspect. But like you said, pressure makes diamonds, and a lot of diamonds appeared before us in 2020, and we need to see who they are, identify them, and work with them, and keep growing. Thank you so much, Assemblywoman.
Thank you to you and the Elmont Public Library as well, doing great things for our community.
Thank you.
My friends, we are happy to see you this evening. We are here for serious business. We are here because first, we are American citizens and determined to apply our citizenship to the fullness of its meaning. We are also here because we love democracy and believe it is the greatest form of government on earth. You voted for this boycott, and I want to express my appreciation to you. Now it's time to stick together and stay with this thing until the end. now means sacrificing. But there are some things that we need to learn how to sacrifice for.
Hold on to me, don't let me go. Who cares what they see? Who cares what they know? Your first name is free, last name is dumb.
All right, everybody, we're back. I'm back with a great guest for us today on MLK Day, a celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King. And right now, I'm with a great person who actually has been inspiring me for many years now. And I strongly believe he's been inspiring many people in his circle that can actually even smell what he's doing. So I wanted to bring him out here to talk to you about his life work. He's big on education. He's big on economics. He's been to Africa. He's been all around the world, actually. I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Howard Jean Denis. Welcome to our chat with Matt today. How are you doing?
Good. Sak passe. I'm doing very well. I'm feeling good. I really appreciate being here, talking to you about this important topic.
Definitely. Thank you so much for being with us. And like I said, I wanted you to be here today because you're very inspiring. I'm watching your work. I know you're studying for PhD. You got theses out there. You're doing articles and journals. Tell us about yourself.
So I'm starting a position as a tenure track professor in a few months. And I've been working on a PhD for about 5 years in business strategy. And I study corruption. I study entrepreneurship. I study humanizing ways that people come together for cooperative economics. So, for example, I talk to people about how they start alliances to alleviate poverty in their country, in their community, that type of thing. And in terms of what I do in the community, I do a lot of teaching for free, whether it's investing, entrepreneurship, that type of thing. And I have a family, happily married with kids, and just grateful to be here, giving back. I'm Haitian. I've also been to Haiti, to Europe, and to Latin America. And I love traveling. And I love showing the world what a Black individual can do with just as great, if not superior, in certain ways to other people. Just like Martin Luther King, he was an excellent orator. He was an excellent speaker, was a man of faith. And I try to do the best I can in the things that God has blessed me with.
It's amazing. It's just amazing. But I want to touch on, before we move on, I want to touch on your trips to Africa. What countries have you been to in Africa?
I've been to a couple countries. So let me just jog my memory. So Ethiopia, Ghana,
Nice.
Cabo Verde, Cape Verde, and Nigeria. I've been to 4 countries. It's for pleasure and also, but mainly for work, for business, presenting my research. A lot of my research is in the African diaspora. And so I was collaborating with African scholars and presenting my research at conferences. Also went to the African Union, for example, which is a place, it's kind of like the government body where heads of states and organizing people come together to talk about African issues.
One last thing about your background, your history, your work. Tell the teens out there, what is a PhD?
Great question. So it's an option, not everybody has to pursue it, but the reason why someone would do it is if you're passionate about education, you're passionate about something called research. So most people have heard the term research, but what I do, or what a PhD does, is they study and they create new knowledge on the topic. So for example, if you have a PhD in biology, you may study cells and you may try to treat cancer. The PhD in engineering, you may try to study. Everybody knows how to build bridges, but you might say it's more efficient to use this bamboo or something like that. Someone who's been in business for about 20 years, I've seen it in corporations, small businesses in America and other parts of the world. And so I wanted to study how people navigate corruption, particularly in poor communities, and also how they overcome it, how they come together in cooperative economics. So in other words, when you have a PhD, you teach, You serve academics by bringing knowledge to other academics, and then you want to contribute knowledge, something called theory. So if people think about things a certain way, you will say, well, that's true, but what about this? And you can introduce something that can help people.
That's dope. That is so dope. Congratulations for putting all that out there. So I'm gonna put it similar to like teach the teachers, lead the leaders, right? If you get a PhD, you're looking at leading a mass group of people who are also thinkers and doers, but getting them more organized and fluid and concrete ideas going.
Exactly. That's a good way to put it.
That is dope. All right. I wanted to ask you, since this is a celebration of MLK and we are with Brother Howard Jean Denis, how have you channeled the energy and message of Dr. Martin Luther King into your life, around your life, or through your life? If you could share that with us.
Well, I read his book when I was 12 or 13 years old. So I knew about him and other leaders in the civil rights movement for several decades. What I was most inspired about him was the fact that he was one of a number of people who were able to be adamant about being against discrimination, being against oppression, but he did it in a peaceful way. And so he's someone who had a lot of knowledge. He loved his higher power, his God, but he was able to honor God at the same time saying this is wrong. So he made obviously that speech on Washington where he talked about the content of our character. And so he was basically in a very eloquent way saying, I'm going to speak to you, articulate to you about the fact that we are one human race. Treat us the same way. We can do it. And he was able to show a shining example about what one man or one group of people could do to fight against oppression. And so the way I've tried to replicate it, emulate it, is I often speak in public, at conferences, in my classroom. I talk about my experiences, whether it's being pulled over by the police or faced with systemic racism. I also use my talents. I just mentioned the PhD to create new knowledge, to show, to disrupt the false equivalencies when they look at people of color as being inferior. I emphasize that that's not the case. Without being arrogant or being confrontational, I always assume that I'm just as good as the other researcher in the room, and I do the same thing by mentoring other researchers at the same time. So basically, to sum it up, I try to be peaceful. I do believe in God as well, and as a professional, I think Martin Luther King he's a preacher. He's one of the best preachers in American history. In terms of the power of his voice, the power of his example. And I try to be the same thing as a scholar, and to be a powerful, influential one.
You ran the marathon a couple of years ago. I wanted to come see you run. That was my first act of friendship, but I couldn't make it. And you're very inspiring with your work because it is high level. And then just watching you, someone has to learn to be better and do better. Watching you has forced me to think about organizational thinking, to think about economic cooperatives, like you said, because I see that stuff in your output just to us regular citizens. So last but not least, do you have a message for the teens in Elmont Library and around the world?
Yes, and once again, thank you for allowing me to speak on this important topic. The message I would give, kind of bring everything together, is do your best to be a leader at what you are passionate about. So, you're going to read in the coming years about the word purpose, about teamwork, about equality, about excellence in whatever you do. And a physician, a basketball player, a professor like I am, a community organizer like the esteemed gentleman I'm talking to now, and and essentially we can be, for lack of a better word, mediocre, or we can be great. To wrap the answer up in a very concise message, I would say it's going to take hard work, prayer, being humble enough to ask for advice. I was nowhere near where I am now 5 years ago, 10 years ago. I made a lot of mistakes, and I was a follower. I kept following people down the wrong path. And thankfully, I was blessed. I had multiple chances. And at some point, something clicked. And I wanted to be a leader. I wanted to be in the front, not so everybody can know who I was, but because it felt good to know that people were like, thank you, Howard. We appreciate what you do. You're doing great work. We're going to remember this. And people I was helping were helping other people. So I would say to all the young people listening to this, leadership is one of the gifts that you can give to the world. That's what Martin Luther King was. He was a leader in his field, and he blessed multiple generations as a result. And you can do the same thing that I can, or Matt can, or that Dr. King did as well. Strive for the top. What you think is excellence, your dream, pursue it, and inspire other people like you, which is what I'm doing right this as we speak.
Thank you so much for taking time out to sit with us in the celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King. There you go, guys. A great leader right in front of us, living, breathing. Look for our leaders. They have the juice. They have the gas. They lit. No cap. All that. Thank you so much, Howard. Hope you have a great rest of your day.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it.
How you doing? My name is Preston Baker. I am delighted to be here today. I want to thank Matt for inviting me to speak to you on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I'm just excited, right? I'm just excited. I want to talk about somebody that I look up to from a historical context of what he's done. His body of work was so amazing, so amazing. And so just give you a little bit of background about myself. My name is Preston Baker. I am the managing partner of LegacyFirst.org LLC, which means I run the company. SEQ Legal, one of the co-founders there, and that was an organization that we created just to help people get connected, people that needed legal services, to get connected to people that could provide legal services from within our community. So it's all community-based organizations and things like that. And the reason for it is people like Martin Luther King, who inspired me. Martin Luther King inspired me to become a community activist. He was a community activist. He was a Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, right? Or Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. But he was an activist. He was outspoken. And he wasn't afraid. He had courage, to face the ills that they have of that day. He had to have some kind of courage, right? You want to think about it. Before we talk about the legacy, let's just think about where he was and what time it was. You're talking about the 50s and the 60s, right? But think about, there was a time that he was growing up and you couldn't go into a restaurant. You couldn't go into a certain bar. You couldn't go into a certain bank. You couldn't get onto you had to go to the back of the bus, right? You were just put as a second-class citizen in a place that you were born. You were born into it. Had no choice. Just because the color of your skin. Think about that, right? Just because of this, color of your skin. Nothing else. Not because you're a bad person, not because you're a good person. Nothing like that. It was just because of one thing. And he saw it and he made a vow to make a change. And that was his legacy. He made a change. He made a lot of changes. They disrupted a whole generation and a whole thought process of a world that was stuck in an old time that it should have never gotten into in the first place. So Dr. King made some speeches and he has many quotes online, but one of the quotes that I think I cherish the most would be, an injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And that means something. You know what that means? That means that we have to always keep in mind to do better, do right by others. It's not one thing to get the freedoms and what they fought for and just have it and take it for granted, but we have to role model. We have to embody the world they left us. The ideas that they had for us are right there in the blueprint of what they say. So let's make sure that we are always being equal. We're not separating anyone. We're doing the right thing by others, treating everyone fairly. Not just because we don't like them, that everybody deserves to be treated fairly. And he believed in his community, as do I. He believed in the common cause of who the human being was, and he lived up to that. He put his life on the line like so many others of that time. And it's amazing that we honor him, but there's so many others that were there that stood alongside him. But I'm proud to say on Martin Luther King Day, that we have someone great to look up to. In one of his last speeches, he talked about how to build within the community. He didn't have to say it, he was explaining it. He was talking about shopping in your stores and shopping with our barbers and shopping with our insurance agents and going to get soda pop from the people from our community. He was talking about building something that was strong enough that we could face the world together. So always remember that as you go forward, as you grow older, think about what you want to do, but always have that will and that courage to stand up against injustice. If you see something that's wrong, you tell somebody. You stand up. You see something wrong, you tell somebody, say, that's not right. That's not right. And if you have to tell an authority figure, tell the authority figure, right? Because we want to make sure that everybody's getting just treatment. And we want to make sure that whatever the reputation we have, it represents what our family is and what our community stands for. We want to be the better parts of our community because we have people like Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who stood up and showed us the best part of our community. Martin Luther King was big on networking and building with community. He worked with a lot of organizations. He built quite a few organizations and stood on the board of many others. It was all about, in a time when where there was no computers, no social media apps, no iPhone, no Samsungs, no mobile apps. They do. That's how the rotary phone. You should go see a rotary phone. That's how they communicated. But he was able to influence so many people because he knew how to. Like I said, he never used physical violence. He used the mind. He used strategy, creativity. He was an amazing person, and I'm glad to be able to honor him on this day. And I want to thank you guys for enjoying this moment with me. I hope I gave a little something, and I'll just leave you off on this. Martin Luther King left a legacy. We call him Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Left a legacy, and it's up to us to carry it on. So you build on his legacy, stand on his shoulders, and you create your legacy. What do you want to be? Who do you want to be? And I know it's going to be someone great. Good luck with the rest of your year. Enjoy. And thank you, Dr. King.
Brown girl, what do you see?
I see a vice president that looks like me.
Brown girl, what do you do?
I thought, I hope I spoke what was true.
Brown girl, what do you know?
That I am strong woman who wants to grow.
Brown girl, what do you feel?
That I am one that can help us grow.
Brown girl, what do you see?
The arrow that sees my skin before it sees me.
Brown girl, what you gonna do?
March out and create a time make this world.
Brown girl, how are you so strong?
But I believe that my brother to help me push on. Congratulations,
Right back to it, Elmont. How y'all feeling? It's MLK Day. It's a celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King. And right now, I brought someone very special for us to talk to and see what he feels and how Martin Luther King is weaving his way through his life with the message that he served us. I have with us Mr. Armand Cheeks. He's Armand the Manifester. He just dropped the ebook in 2020. I was going to say this year. He dropped the ebook in 2020. He'll tell you about that real quick. He's a marketing and sales guru. Welcome to Elmont Library's MLK Day celebration, Armand. How are you doing today? And can you tell the teens a little bit about yourself?
Hey, thank you, Matt. Mattpreneur, that he created a whole new word. Thank you. I appreciate you for having me. It really is an honor to be able to talk for Elmont Library and really just be able to give some good knowledge to the youth because the youth are our future, and we definitely need to make sure that we're guiding them as best as possible, for sure. So just to kind of give a little bit about myself, I mean, the introduction was amazing, so I appreciate that. But yes, my name is Armand. I am one of the owners of Sigma Solution Marketing and Consulting Services. It's a full service digital marketing and sales agency. So pretty much my whole goal and my mission in life is really just to help small businesses and nonprofits with their sales and marketing systems, especially when we think about nonprofits and businesses in our community. Those are the ones that need that type of help the most. Just like Matt said, I did release my ebook in 2020 called Recession Proof Manifester: How to Combine Your Skills with Actionable Steps to Create Side Income. So one thing I will say is that book was super important for me to write, just for the simple fact that I believe that each and every one of us were born with a God-given talent, and we've developed skills throughout our years in life. Even if someone's still in high school, you've been able to develop those skills by your time being in high school. And really just, if you're able to take those skills and figure out how you can monetize it, then you'll feel so much more fulfilled than having to work a job that is not fulfilling to you, that does not give you passion, you're not excited to go there. So I really want to change the way that not only our youth, but people in general think about, creating money or creating income for themselves.
I love it. That's MLK Day. I want to ask you, how have you channeled or how have you seen the mission of Dr. King interpret in your life?
As a young African American, anyone can really take Martin Luther King's legacy and really be able to apply that to themselves. I think a lot of the opportunities that we have now in 2020 and 21 and beyond are a big credit to all the things and the struggles that someone like Martin Luther King had to go through. It's super interesting to really understand that, our legacy lives way longer than we ever will. So that this earth, you will be remembered for it, and you will get your due credit. Even if people in the time that you were born don't appreciate you, you will always be appreciated if you do something amazing for others. Having a dream and really sticking to it. When you think about Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream" speech, it wasn't just a figurative dream. It was him and his experiences and understanding that you can have genuine relationships with someone regardless of their race, ethnicity, religious beliefs. None of that should be a barrier. So him, articulating the "I Have a Dream" speech was really just him kind of sharing some of his personal experiences and really letting people understand that, hey, regardless of what, the differences may be, they're only surface level differences, because as long as we have a kind heart, we can embrace the person in front of us regardless what they look like.
Do you have a message for our teens around the world?
Yes. Around the world. So the biggest message I can give to the teens around the world is find someone that is doing something that you'd like to do, something that you could see yourself doing, and not necessarily model their path, but use it as an example that you can overcome any obstacle that will be encountered to get there. A lot of people don't really understand, if you think about Martin Luther King's history, he was always one of the youngest people to take on an endeavor and really hold it as his own. So your age has nothing to do with, you know, what you can and cannot do. It really just comes down to finding those role models and people that you know are embodying what you want to be. And as long as you can follow those footsteps or kind of use their life as a template, you can 100% accomplish what you want to do. Sidebar, one thing I will know, a lot of people don't talk about this. Martin Luther King entered college when he was 15 years old. He graduated when he was 18. You know what I mean? So you have to understand that, like, there are going to be a lot of, you know, barriers. There are going to be people that say you're too young. There's going to be people that say all of these things, but you can't let that into your mind space. You look forward to seeing all the amazing things that the youth of the world are going to do.
That is amazing. Firepower right there, and it's truth. You couldn't say it any better. Find someone who's doing something that you like, something that is great, and see the steps they took and learn how to take your steps. Amazing. Thank you so much, Brother Armand. Thank you for joining us for MLK Day. It's a celebration of the life of Dr. Martin Luther King. We're doing this for Elmont Library. We're doing it for the teens out there. So thank you for joining us. We appreciate your words of wisdom and motivation.
To all the teens out there, I just want to let you know that, you know, I know that you can do anything that you set your mind to, and it really just comes down to just, like you said, having your mind on it, and you can 100% accomplish it.
Woo, fire. Thank you so much, brother. You have a great rest of the day. Happy MLK Day.
Thank you. Happy MLK to you too.